Imagine waking up in the pitch black of midnight, hearing the distant chime of a bell striking 2 a.m. and feeling completely awake. For most modern humans, this sudden awakening is a source of intense frustration, anxiety, and a feeling of medical failure. We check our clocks, calculate how many hours of sleep we are losing, and worry about our productivity tomorrow. We have been deeply conditioned to believe that humans must sleep in one single, solid 8-hour block every night. But if you could travel back in time to the era of ancient Rome, medieval Europe, or early tribes, you would find a completely different sleeping reality. To our ancestors, waking up in the middle of the night was not a sleep disorder, but a normal and expected biological phase. They did not sleep in one long block. Instead, they naturally practiced what historians call BIPHASIC, or two-shift sleep. For thousands of years, the human night was split into two distinct periods of rest, separated by a quiet window of active waking. In this video, we will explore the forbidden history of how humans used to sleep, and why modern society ruined our natural sleep cycles. We will dive into the historical records, the biological science, and the weird nocturnal habits of our ancestors. Let us first examine the historical evidence of biphasic sleep, which was once the universal standard for human rest. Historian Roger Kirch spent decades reading ancient documents, diaries, and court records to uncover this forgotten sleeping pattern. He discovered thousands of references to what our ancestors called the first sleep and the second sleep. The first sleep, also known as dead sleep, began shortly after dusk when the sun went down and darkness covered the land. This initial phase of sleep lasted for roughly 4 hours, providing deep physical recovery after a long day of manual labor. Around midnight or 1 a.m., people would naturally wake up from this first sleep, entering a period of calm consciousness. This middle-of-the-night waking interval, known in French as the dorveil, lasted for 1 to 2 hours. During this quiet midnight window, people did not toss and turn in panic or check glowing digital screens. Instead, they got out of bed, stoked the central fireplace, walked around, and engaged in a variety of calm activities. Some people would use this quiet time to pray, write in journals, or contemplate their dreams in the peaceful dark. Others would visit neighbors, chat with family members, or enjoy intimate moments with their partners in the quiet hours. It was a highly relaxed, meditative state of mind, completely free from the hurried stress of the daytime hours. After this waking interval, they would return to bed and fall into their second sleep, which lasted until dawn. This second phase of sleep was lighter, filled with vivid dreams, and prepared the mind for the coming morning. This biphasic pattern was so common that it was mentioned casually in literature, legal depositions, and medical guides. It was simply assumed to be the natural, unquestioned way that all human beings rested at night. But why did our ancestors sleep in 2 shifts instead of one solid block like we do today? The primary reason was the absolute dominance of natural light and darkness over the daily human schedule. Before the invention of gas lamps and electric light bulbs, the setting sun marked the official end of the working day. Once darkness fell, it was too dangerous and impractical to continue outdoor work, farming, or travel. With only expensive candles or wood fires for illumination, families naturally retired to their beds early. This meant that the period of nighttime darkness lasted for 10 to 12 hours, especially during the cold winter months. Sleeping for 10 hours straight is biologically difficult for the human brain, leading to the natural split in the middle. Furthermore, sleeping in 2 shifts provided a crucial survival advantage in the wild, unpredictable ancient world. If the entire tribe fell into a deep 8-hour coma at the same time, they would be completely defenseless. By waking up in the middle of the night, individuals could stoke the campfire to keep predators away. They could scan the perimeter for danger, check on their children, and ensure the camp remained secure. This cooperative vigilance was a vital defense mechanism that kept early human communities alive in the wilderness. The sleeping environment itself also played a major role in shaping these ancient sleep habits. In the ancient and medieval world, beds were not the private, memory foam sanctuaries we enjoy today. Instead, families slept close together in communal beds filled with straw, dry leaves, or animal skins. Sleeping in groups allowed them to share body heat during freezing nights when houses lacked insulation. It also provided a deep sense of social security, reducing the fear of nocturnal threats in the dark. Waking up in the middle of the night was a shared experience, allowing for quiet midnight conversations and bonding. But this natural historical sleep rhythm was destined to be completely destroyed by the forces of modernization. The massive shift began in the late 17th century with the introduction of street lighting in European cities. As streets became illuminated, the night was no longer a dark, dangerous zone to be avoided. People began staying out later, socializing in taverns, and pushing back their traditional bedtime. The invention of gas lighting in the early 19th century accelerated this cultural transformation. Now, homes could be cheaply illuminated late into the night, allowing for reading, working, and sewing. The final blow to biphasic sleep came with the arrival of the Industrial Revolution and factory labor. Industrial factories required rigid, continuous shifts to maximize production and keep machines running constantly. Workers could no longer follow the natural rhythms of the sun, temperature, and seasonal changes. Instead, they had to conform to the artificial clock, working long hours and sleeping in one compressed block. Medical professionals and educators began teaching that sleeping in 2 shifts was a sign of laziness and inefficiency. They urged families to consolidate their sleep into one single, uninterrupted 8-hour block to fit the industrial schedule. By the late 19th century, the memory of the first and second sleep had almost completely vanished from public consciousness. We traded our ancient, flexible biological rhythm for a rigid, clock-dominated industrial schedule. But what does modern science say about this dramatic shift in our sleeping behavior? In the early 1990s, a psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr conducted a famous sleep experiment. He placed a group of volunteers in an environment with 14 hours of darkness every day for a month. This setup mimicked the natural light conditions of the pre-industrial winter months. At first, the volunteers slept in long, erratic blocks as they caught up on their modern sleep debt. But by the 4th week, their bodies naturally shifted into a highly structured biphasic sleep pattern. They slept for 4 hours, woke up for a couple of hours of calm wakefulness, and slept for another 4 hours. During the waking interval, researchers measured their hormone levels and made a fascinating discovery. Their brains produced high levels of prolactin, a hormone that promotes feelings of peace, relaxation, and calm. This confirmed that the midnight waking window is a natural biological state programmed into our DNA. It is not a medical pathology, but a deeply hardwired feature of the human endocrine and nervous system. When we wake up at 2 a.m. today, we are not broken. We are simply executing this ancient biological code. However, because we expect unbroken sleep, our immediate reaction to waking up is panic and frustration. This worry triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline, the primary stress hormones of the body. These chemicals raise our heart rate, increase alertness, and make it physically impossible to fall back asleep. The modern sleep epidemic of insomnia is largely driven by this mismatch between our expectations and our biology. We try to force our bodies to follow a rigid monophasic schedule that was invented for factory owners, not human health. This chronic sleep pressure contributes to high anxiety, depression, cardiovascular issues, and weakened immunity. To heal our relationship with rest, we must learn to embrace the wisdom of our ancient ancestors. We do not need to abandon electricity or sleep on the dirt to find balance in our modern lives. Instead, we can start by changing how we react when we wake up in the middle of the night. If you wake up at 2 a.m., do not look at the clock, grab your glowing phone, or turn on bright overhead lights. Accept the waking as a natural, peaceful sentinel moment, a quiet time for your mind to breathe. Sit quietly in the dim light, listen to the silence of the night, or write down your floating thoughts. By removing the anxiety of the clock, you allow your body to naturally drift back into the second sleep. We must also align our modern environments with the natural cues our brains evolved to receive.